Entity framework, power tools,
Technology suite.
Countdown commencing. T-minus 2 minutes.
Jeremy Likeness.
Shiro
Brice Lambson.
Arthur Vickers.
.NET data. T-minus 1 minute. Thirty seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We are go for .NET Data Community Stand-Up.
And here we are. Welcome to another .NET Data Community Stand-Up. Shai can't be with us today, but I'm joined by Brice from the .NET Data team and community contributor extraordinaire, Erik EJ, who has been on the show a few times already and has definitely contributed a lot to the EF and SQL Server communities over the years. And we're going to be talking to Erik about his new cross-platform EF Core Power Tools command line interface, which is all really cool stuff. So before we do that, we normally do the State of the Unicorn, and so we'll do it. But it's been a bit of a slow couple of weeks in terms of getting stuff done. So all I really got to say is Preview 4 is out there. Go try it. aka.ms/EF8new. That's a link to the What's New documentation with all runnable samples, and then Shai wrote a blog post about primitive collections, which we went over last time. Things are still going on behind the scenes. We've got Andrew's sent up here out today for some value object stuff, so that's really cool. But nothing new actually merged of worth note. So with that aside, let us go over to Erik and talk about the Power Tools.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, let me just share my screen right away. Entire screen. Share.
Okay, add that to the stream.
And we have Inception, yes?
Yes, we do. Oh, now we've lost Erik entirely.
Oh, yeah, Erik's gone.
Okay, talk amongst yourselves. No, let's see. Erik, the Power Tools are great. Yes, I agree. The Power Tools are great. Although somehow Erik has managed to remove himself from the stream, which is not so great.
Clicked the wrong share button.
Yeah, probably.
I could
It's
share an
easy.
anecdote while we wait.
It's easy. What I've done in the past is close the whole browser window, and then everything
Oh
goes away.
no.
Yeah. So what were you saying you could share?
Oh yeah, I think it was either at the MVP Summit or at Microsoft Build, and I was hanging out with Erik, and somebody walked up and said, like, it took me years to realize you weren't actually on the Entity Framework team.
Oh, really?
So when you were saying like contributor extraordinaire, like he's such a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
contributor that even like
Yes.
community members like thinks he's just one of the teams. So
Exactly. Yeah.
we tend to think of him like that too, in a way.
Exactly. We do. I mean, definitely say, hey, we want to fix this in scaffolding, for example, but ping Erik on it, and usually the Power Tools gets a fix like the next day. So it's always great to have that interaction there where he's like, yeah, it's faster than getting the team to it. Just get Erik to it. Back in the day, he did the SQL Compact provider.
Yeah, we've
For
known Erik for a
EF6,
long time.
and then for EF Core before SQL Compact really finally died. Yeah. Hopefully he will come back. Otherwise, this is going to be a rather short stand-up meeting. There's nothing I can do here, I don't think.
This might be our most exciting live stream ever.
Exactly.
We've never
Yes.
really had big problems like this.
Indeed.
So
Should
ask
we
your
tell
questions,
jokes?
yeah, or tell a joke. We'll highlight them. Just kidding.
All right. So here's my latest joke. Is it safe? Yeah, I think it's safe. So you've probably all heard it before, but Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are all working on their new AI products, and Microsoft's like, okay, you ask us any question, and we'll go off and find the answer on the internet and tell you in natural language what it is. Oh, awesome. And Google's like, just give us something and we'll write a poem in that style of that person using these whatever words you want. We can be totally creative. And Amazon's like, our version of AI is, well, you bought a toilet seat this week, so you'll probably want one next week too, right? Oh, it's fallen flat. Nobody.
That's true. I have to laugh, don't I? I'm waiting for everyone else to laugh, but I can't hear them.
They talk a bit about EF News. Yeah, like, sure. Like, what? What are
We
you?
can make this like a real stand-up. Like, remember the early days of the ASP.NET Community stand-up where it was like
Yes.
literally a camera in their stand-up?
Yes, indeed. Do you think that we should do API review live stream like the language team do?
Ooh, that's an interesting question for the audience. Yeah. They can be a bit tedious. This is so API review, for those who don't know. We meticulously go over every single piece of public API that we've added. And so we argue about the names, the verbs we use. We argue about everything. And it's all like very pedantic and very like extreme. It can be very tedious.
Very tedious. Yes.
But at the same time, sometimes good discussions spark and we talk about interesting things. So
yeah.
It's a bit of a gamble.
It is a bit of a gamble. I don't know. The ASP.NET team have been wondering about doing their API review live stream as well. That's why I brought it up. But I'm not sure. I think it might be going too far. What seminars would we recommend people to go to in the UK? Well, I would recommend joining the various community stand-ups every couple of weeks. It's a great place to learn. No, honestly, I have no idea what seminars or things go out there. I know Pluralsight, for example, which is not a Microsoft thing, has some good training on lots of stuff. I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but yeah. So a comment on the API reviews, or at least briefly skip to the points where the decision is written down. Yep.
Yeah, we used to share like design meeting notes and stuff.
We
just
did.
a brief like summary.
It
Those were
required somebody to write them. That's the problem, which usually was me. And I'm like, why am I writing this down?
Yeah, I've taken just to adding like notes to the issues after we do a
Oh,
discussion. Like on this issue, this was a design discussion. Hey, Eric.
look who's back.
Sorry about that, guys. How far did I go?
Oh, we
You-
lost you early.
we
Right
lost
around
you.
the time you shared your screen.
Yes.
Oh my god. No. We'll start over again. No problem.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry about that, guys. I thought it was very quiet actually, but didn't really think about it. So I have installed the tool already.
Okay.
And I will try to update it to the latest version. So
You need
if
to
I
share your
run the
screen
tool
again.
now-
We're not
Oh,
seeing.
sorry, I'm not sharing either.
No.
Sorry about that. Oh my dear. There we are.
Don't worry, we just talked about how awesome you were.
Perfect.
Yeah, everybody thought you worked for Microsoft.
Mhm.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
Okay. So I have the tool installed already.
Okay.
You actually lost me right from the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good.
We didn't
Right,
see
sorry.
it. When you said I'll
Let's,
share, and
step
then
back. Yeah. Okay. And
you
then
said we're going Inception, and then we really just went Inception. And everything swirled.
Okay,
and there was no
fine.
more Eric.
Thanks. Cool. I will try not to shut down the StreamYard window this time. So why have I created this tool? That's where I actually started, and things got very quiet from here. But now we know why.
Yeah.
You already have a command line tool, .NET EF, and it can do reverse engineering and other things.
It has a cool unicorn too.
It has a cool unicorn as well. I don't have that. I haven't even created one, but yeah, sorry about
You
that.
could just steal Brice's. That's what I do.
I could just copy paste Brice's.
So fun fact, I created that as a joke, and I literally spent like 3 hours on it one evening.
But now it's become your trademark.
Yeah, and then I
Exactly.
shared it like jokingly with Scott Hanselman, and he's like, "You have to put that in there."
This is awesome. Yeah. So these are the reasons why I created this tool. There's two reasons. I got a few requests over the years, like why can't I run this on non-Windows?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of brushed them off because then I had to support it and so on. The other reason is I got a little bit, let's say, piqued by the fact that you are now planning to create a Windows a Visual Studio extension. So if you're moving in that direction, why not let me move in the other direction?
Sounds reasonable. Competition.
Sorry, just joking. Yeah, just joking. No, but the EF Core Power Tools has a number of features on top of what you get from the .NET EF tooling, and I think that's why I have some popularity amongst the Visual Studio users, at least, because that's the only place you can run it. But it's actually factored in a way that I had a library that basically was a command line tool that took some kind of internal parameters already. My task in creating a command line tool was actually, how do I improve this very raw internal experience and make it a little bit nicer?
Yeah.
And so that people that are running on Windows but not necessarily using Visual Studio but another editor like Visual Studio Code, and people that are using Mac or Linux can actually take advantage of all the nice features that have grown in this over time.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I love all the features. It really does.
I think a lot of people appreciate the stored procedure and function mapping, for example. I think
So when you do stored procedure and function mapping, tell us what that actually means.
Yeah, well, it means that you will get, like, for example, for stored procedures, you will get so the stored procedure is a little bit like calling a select statement or can select statement or view, and you get a result set back. It's not exactly the same, but you get a result set back, and there's other things with input and output parameters and return values flying back and forth. All those things are supported in stored procedure mapping. And I also discover what the shape of the result from the stored procedure looks like, which is usually some kind of tabular result. And it's a little bit of a dark art to do that correctly or get away with it, depending on how people author their stored procedures. So I have I have a lot of flexibility in how stored procedures are discovered. Let me put it like that.
And then you get a stub in the code for
you
forming
just get
stored
like a one-liner in the code, and I have some black magic DB context black magic behind. I'm not going to show this to anybody, but it works. That actually does like the deserialization with using from SQL that is applied as a part of EF core.
Right.
But I kind of make a little bit of a DB context on the fly and then run from SQL from that. It's a bit ugly, but it works.
Just to give viewers like some more appreciation for that, like, so in a database, like when we do our reverse engineer stuff, we can get all the information about a table, like its primary key, its column types, which ones are nullable, everything about it. But when it comes to stored procedures, the database doesn't really give you anything back. So you really have to like run a query and like try and divine what the schema is, which one might be the primary key. I mean, EF6 had tooling to do this, and like 90% of the time it would just give up and say, well, every column is a part of the primary key.
So no, but I have had a bit back and forth about doing it the right way, and now people can basically choose. There's essentially two ways of discovering the result set, and people can actually choose which one they want to use for each of their stored procedures.
Okay.
So if one doesn't work, the other could potentially work.
Yeah.
So I have published this as a .NET global tool, and .NET global tool is actually not global, but I think as my understanding that it's just something that you can run from anywhere in your environment on the machine, but it's not installed for all users on the machine. It's not important. And I have a published version.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
The important thing about a global tool, the thing that makes it quote global, is it's not associated with any particular project solution, right?
Correct.
It's like you use it
it's
anywhere.
launchable, and it's launchable from anywhere on your machine.
Yes, as opposed to a project which you can install with that project, and then you can like go into the Visual Studio solution and use it. But it's installed only for that project in that case.
Correct. Yes. So I have created a version for EF Core 7 and one for EF Core 6 because somebody asked for that as well. And so now let's go to the terminal. I have installed. It's actually RC2 for some reason. Let's not worry too much about that. We will go into some of the details about prompting for an update. I have installed the latest version of the tool. It's actually called RC2. It's still in preview, but I'm an idiot and don't understand the NuGet versioning system well enough. So I had to move to RC letters instead of preview letters. Never mind.
I see.
It's not important, but yeah, it's getting better every day, with every release, and getting closer to something that's relatively usable. So I just ran the tool here by typing EFCPT, which is the name of the tool, and I will get a nice screen stating the version number at the top and with a link to the GitHub repo, and then because I didn't provide any of the required parameters, it will tell me what the command line options are, and so, I will.
I'm confused here. So you're not doing .NET space EFCPT. You're just doing EFCPT.
Yeah. I mean that you can do anything with a .NET global tool. It doesn't have to be .NET anything.
Oh really? I didn't know that. I thought we had to have
you can call it anything. It doesn't have to be .NET something. No.
It used to be. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Not for .NET 6 anyway.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, it's very cool. So, so as you can see here, there's actually one required parameter, which is an ADO.NET connection string, and the other parameter is how should I put this? It depends whether it's required or not. So maybe you just should put it in just in case, but maybe your connection string. So I have some logic that will actually try to determine the provider just based on the connection string.
Okay.
Brice, you talked me into it.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, we've been talking about like, well, if you only have one provider installed in your project, why don't we just use that?
Yeah.
And we're always looking for ways to, like,
I'm not looking at the project, but I know I have like a hard-coded list of providers I support. As you can see here, there's MS SQL, Postgres, SQLite, Oracle, MySQL, MySQL, and Firebird. So I will try to kind of guess a suitable connection string based on what I put in here.
Okay.
Yes. So in order to run the tool,
fail fast if it's the wrong kind.
I've now put myself in the demo folder here, and I will run the tool. And I'm using my local Northwind database on my SQL Express instance. We get a nice, not a unicorn drawing, but a logo, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm glad you have something.
Yeah, better than nothing. I'm now in terminal, so even when I have hyperlinks, they're somehow clickable, which is really nice.
Yep.
I'm in Windows terminal and the PowerShell prompt inside Windows terminal. So yeah.
Yep.
So the tool will tell us which config file is using. We will dive into what is a config file in a little while, and it will show us what it discovered in the database. And then it will actually, let's see, because I think I will just try to get rid of stuff here. It's actually a bit curious why it's not complaining a bit more. There we are, better. So now I regenerated. Every time it runs, it will either use an existing configuration file, or it will actually create one, which is like suitable defaults for what you want to do based on 6 years of experience with EF Core Power Tools. Plus. So yes, I will say I really appreciate that you're using EF Core Power Tools, and there's a README file that you can open for the next step. And there's a link to that as well.
Okay.
So let's try to start Visual Studio Code. So now I'm opening code in the demo folder where we were just looking at, and you can see there's a models folder which contains all a lot of code from Northwind database, like stored procedures and Northwind context and some functions and so on. It's a little bit of a modified version of Northwind I'm using here. And then there's 2 files at the root of the folder. All these files should of course be under source control, and the config.json file in particular, because that's like the settings that you use for code generation. They're all stored in this file.
So this saves you having to write on the command line every time that you want to use, enable on configuring or not. You can just put it in here and then keep it.
And then I also generate a markdown file, which will tell you, if you haven't done so already, you should add this package.
That's right. You don't have to install the providers first.
To your CS project file. Again, I'm not touching the users.
Yeah.
At this point in time, I'm not touching the user's project file, and I probably don't have any plans to, but I will give them some good advice on how to get things up and running.
Yeah, so for comparison, on the Entity Framework reverse engineer, we load the user's project. So you can do things like override some of the services we use to reverse engineer, but it comes at a cost, right? You have to install the provider first. Your project has to be buildable. Erik is doing kind of another approach, generating
and things like that. Yeah, correct. Nothing is needed here, but yeah, there's pros and cons of both approaches. And then I will generate the correct configuration statement here. So if it was SQLite, it would be use SQLite instead down here, or use Postgres or NPD SQL or whatever. And then I will show a sample of what the configuration should look like.
Right.
with a redacted connection string. So I'm not in the business of if people supply a username and a password when they're running the tool.
That out.
I strip it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've been talking about is making better use of user secrets, which is a more recommended approach for storing connection strings.
Correct.
And it's a bit. It feels ASP.NET specific, but it's actually isn't.
No, you can use it if you just install the package. You can actually use it also from command line to tools and other. Yeah.
So we may make it easier to do that.
Yeah. I'm alluding to that here. That it's probably a good idea to consider storing things like this in secret station.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's have a look at the configuration file. We just glanced over it earlier. So this is kind of to give a good experience, like out of the box experience, but without interfering with the user's project file.
Yeah.
Just like helping them getting bootstrapped relatively quickly. For the configuration file, of course, on Windows, I have this really nice user experience that some WPF wizard helped me create. It's a little bit harder to do this in VS Code, but then again, actually, it's not. It's actually could be a lot worse. Let me put it like that. So if you have an editor that ports something called JSON schema, which is this part up here we're alluding to. Then you can actually kind of get IntelliSense for a JSON file.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So if I hover over here, I can add small pieces of text. So for example, for type, it actually like the type of file to generate. So let's see. Oh, I can choose between all DB context and entities.
Yep.
Interesting. So I get not only like help for hovering, I also get help for kind of valid values. I mean, a lot of these values are false and true, so it's nothing secret here. But it's definitely a better experience than not being thrown into all these kind of obscure self-invented abbreviations I have made here. Yes. So so that helps giving a good kind of editing experience for this file. So even like you can see this, I have split it into various sections like code generation, names, file layout, and then we have all the tables in a separate section, and we have all the views, stored procedures, and the functions, each in a separate section, just to make it a little more easy to kind of have an overview. And if you can see, we can also do a replacements and a type mappings section. So if we go back to the terminal, we got these warnings here, like hierarchy ID is like, I don't understand this, geography, I don't understand this in this specials table. What? So if, of course, you have to, in the README file, there's also links to the, let's go to preview. There's also links here to the full guide, and there's links to sponsor me and also all kinds of things here. So it's, but the main thing is there's a link here to the guide. So maybe at one point of time you will actually go into that guide and have a look to understand what is going on here. But so you find out, okay, I need to add some type mappings, and then we'll just type out. Can we just so actually we can just get all those default values put in for us. So you can actually have like examples in your JSON schema file as well.
Why do you have to opt in to hierarchy ID and spatial?
Because you have to have these extra use statements, and you have to add packages. You have to add a package.
Right. So so do you have to add the package when you're using the Power Tool, or is it just after you install?
Yeah, you both. I I add the package to the reverse engineering service
Yeah.
provider, whatever, because otherwise it doesn't understand hierarchy ID. And
Yep.
then I need to tell afterwards. I need to tell the user. You also need to add these extra use statements and these extra packages.
And for
Right.
example, like the Nota time, that would probably override all the date time stuff where
It
you
did,
know,
yes.
that
That's
truly is
why
a
I have.
choice.
That's exactly why I have it as a default to false, because if you're opting into that, date time or date only and time only will completely be blown away.
Yep.
So we have added these type mappings, and then I have another feature called run cleanup of obsolete files, which means that if you are, so let's set that to true. I'm considering whether it should always be true, but angry users tell me that I shouldn't.
Yeah, they
I'm
don't
now
like
actually,
their files to be
I'm
deleted.
now actually, initially I just deleted the files. Now I'm actually sending them to the
Recycle
what do you
bin.
call it? Trash can.
Yeah.
Recycle bin. Yes.
Yeah. Recycle
That's
bin.
interesting. So yeah, because certainly a very normal workflow is to just delete the files every time,
Exactly.
and it's jarring and inconvenient when it doesn't work and you have to say we have to say go use the force flag or go set this flag on or whatever.
Clean up the files.
But then the danger of doing that is the one person who doesn't understand that and deletes their stuff and doesn't have any source control ever and then gets angry at you. And so it sometimes feels like we do something that's useful just to protect those couple of people who are going to do it wrong.
It has happened, and then I decided, okay. And I think he was that particular person was actually being kind of constructive, and maybe we could use the recycle bin instead. And I figured out how to do that. So so that was good help. So let's. So now we have added the type mappings. We have soft deleted files. It's actually probably not so important, but I'm just pointing this out because it's probably something people should consider to just immediately set to true if they want a good experience. But I'm a bit worried about doing it myself.
Yeah.
So so I also have, for some reason, I actually have an old migration history table. It looks like an EF6 migration history table in this database.
They find their way places, don't they?
They do indeed. So you can see here again, we have this nice IntelliSense-like experience that I can choose to use the exclude keyword and then say true. So this, that's actually why I wanted to do the soft delete, because we want this file to appear here. You can see it's actually somewhere migration history. Rears is up ahead here, but we don't want to see it. So let's try to get rid of it by soft deleting the files and then excluding it from our list of tables. So what I'm generating, the list of objects I'm generating in this config file is, at any point in time you run a tool, the lists of objects that are actually present in your source database.
Yeah.
No matter how many tables there are in them and how many of them you need. So all files that are present in your source database will be listed here. And then you can exclude, or we will go into, you can do kind of various options for filtering, which we'll look at a little bit later.
Okay.
So now we have done all those changes. We did the soft delete, we added the type mappings, and we tried to remove the history. So now we have changed our configuration. And in order to apply that configuration, we simply just need to run the tool one more time.
Should get fewer warnings this time.
Oh, I'm getting this. No, I don't want to update the BIOS right now. No, thank you. And let's switch to code here, and I probably have to reopen this somehow. Open preview. So you can see now.
Oh, nice.
It's the tool has magically. I have a database of all the needed packages, but has magically concluded that you need actually not only the SQL Server package, but you need these 3 additional packages to support the mapping, and these packages then enable you to call these use statements down here, which I'm also listing down here.
Very cool.
Very nice. And then after 8, of course, we'll presumably change
After
the
8, we can just forget
hierarchy.
about date only and time only. Yes, I haven't implemented 8 yet, but I'm looking forward
And
to
the
that. Yes.
hierarchy ID package will be
Oh,
the
yes,
one
will be
that's
something
the
else.
official,
Yes.
the official one. Not that it makes that
Exactly,
much
the
difference.
Microsoft hierarchy
Yeah.
ID package.
So,
Yes.
a question about the configuration. Maybe you'll get back to this, but you showed excluding the table. Can you also rename or remove specific properties or navigations?
You mean like individual columns or?
So I'm thinking like, okay, so I've got a my connection info, a column called my connection, and I want it to just be called con in the property in my model. Can I configure it to do that?
Yeah, you can. So you're talking about property renaming,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
column renaming, basically. Yes.
yes.
Yes, I can load. You basically, I have a separate file format for that already with Power Tools, Windows Power Tools, and I support the same file format. I think it's called EFPT renaming JSON or something like that. So if you have a file called that in the same folder as your config file, I will just take that into consideration.
Okay. And can you exclude a column as well using that?
Not currently, no.
Yeah.
And
mean,
there's a lot
the
of
challenge.
there's challenges in doing that because you can end up excluding columns that will break everything.
Yeah.
And
So
I can control in the UI. I can control which columns are excludable. It's a little bit harder in a text file.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I
that's why
mean, so you imagine if you
I've decided not to implement that actually.
very often if you've got a non-nullable column, excluding it will just cause everything not to work because you'll not be inserting a value for it.
Yeah. So it's actually quite a limited subset. So you can't exclude columns that are pointing to foreign keys and things like that. So it's like a limited selection of columns that you can actually exclude without breaking stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yes.
How about navigations? Can I remove a navigation on one side or other to make it unidirectional?
You can scaffold with the T4 templates and there's a Poco template there.
Yeah.
That
So
will
using
not
a T4
include
template,
any navigations at all. Yeah. So that's possible as well. Yes. So you will basically just be plain classes just representing the properties of the table.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So yes, so I have a package repository embedded in this tool that knows about for which options do I need which packages, and that's what we saw the effect of again here. So let's now we talk about these exclusions. So let's say I have a scenario where I have a lot of tables, and I actually only want, or let's just confirm that the migration history file actually disappeared. So let's just see here. It's not here anymore.
Yep. Excellent.
Great, thanks.
So and so the deletion thing worked. What am I doing wrong here? I just need to collapse this. Sorry. Yes. So so what if we want to actually just include like a few tables, and we have hundreds of them. So I can. This is like now I'm just excluding a single table, but you can actually add like a new thing here, and I think it actually I'm proposing you do it like this, but I think anywhere within tables you have an exclusion wildcard, it will actually kick in.
Okay.
So now everything will be excluded. Because, not everything actually will only exclude all the tables. Because we are in the tables.
Yeah, so it's not going to exclude views.
It's not going to
and
exclude
things.
views, stored procedures, or functions.
Yeah.
But all the tables will currently be excluded. So if we want to include something, we have to do it like this.
I see. So that exclude false will override
the wildcard.
The exclusion wildcard.
Yes. Yeah,
it's a lot of negatives there.
It's a little long-winded, but
yeah.
Someone proposed something similar, and I thought let's start with this and see what people think, and if it's too hairy, then we'll have to start over. But
yeah,
makes
sense.
So let's just try to run this. So we shouldn't see any customers or employees or whatever tables now. So classes now being generated. So let's. Did I save this? I did. Let's run the tool again.
So what happens if they have foreign keys pointing to from the ones you've included to the ones you've excluded?
Nothing will happen because they will just be excluded from the list of tables taken into consideration by the scaffolding.
Okay, so you'll still get a column for the foreign key. It just won't be configured.
It just get like a something ID. Just won't point to anything. Yes, exactly.
Makes
sense. So let's see. So now we have no customers, no nothing. So and what was it? Categories table is still there. And let's look at the context. So we have all the views, and it's a little bit hard to see because it's all the views and the single table. But trust me. So, yes.
Sounds good.
So I can dive into all these features, but I think it will be I think it would be better if people just go to the wiki and everything that's written in the wiki will apply to this tool. As we have just touched upon, there's a few features that I have not implemented yet, notably like navigation renaming, because it needs Roslyn and doesn't really run well outside of Visual Studio. And then there's column exclusions, which we already touched upon.
Yeah,
I think that's like the main things that are not there. Everything else that we can do is there. So we can drop T4 templates and start playing around with. So if you're not really pleased with those options that are there and they don't fit your whatever idiosyncratic way you have of generating code, you can just go run amok with T4 templates.
So there's a question we had here, which is basically what you just said. So in this case, they want to change the thing that ends in ID. They want to make it int instead of a long. T4 templates is the way to do all of that. You can create a T4 template that will look at your types, look at the names based on whatever rules you decide.
Whatever juggling you want to do, yes. We can try. Let's see. But did I actually test this now? Let's see. So, doesn't look so convincing. No, it is beta software. What should have happened is that we should see a code templates folder here, but
I see. Yeah,
it didn't really happen. Or maybe
but you can still use that with the Visual Studio version of the Power Tools, and you can use T4 templates with that, and you can use it with the command line. You can the regular command line tool still uses the T4,
Correct.
So people can do that while waiting for your tool to get up to date with everything.
Erik, have
That's
you
very polite way of
have
putting it, Arthur, but yes.
you customized our vanilla templates that we ship beyond what we ship?
Slightly, yes.
That's cool.
I've added some version checking to them.
Oh, okay,
So,
right.
so if there are version updates, and we have already seen some inside version 7, I will actually warn the user that they're using obsolete templates and should consider upgrading.
Okay, yeah, we do that for the major and minor version. Do you mean like also patches? Like if you
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah, that's cool.
7.05 had some changes or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, we added
Yes.
back in the setter for collection.
Correct. It's already
navigation.
in my It's already in my
Yeah.
template. But then I've also added this additional like version marker in it.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, I will actually warn the user that they're not using the list.
Has anybody who's watching, or I guess I should say, you know, the YouTube thing, if you're watching this later, then you can comment down below. Have you used T4 templates? Has anybody like customized them? What have you done? It's always interesting to hear about that.
Yeah.
Going back to something you were sharing, 5 minutes ago, maybe there was this question, which I think means if you're doing that exclude thing, why not just remove all the tables from that list of tables that you have in the config file? And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer first. So all those, yeah.
Yeah, why not just do that? Because every time the tool runs, it just needs to. The basis for this tool is what is in the database.
Yeah.
So I want the configuration file, and given there's no fancy UI to do things here, I just want the configuration file to reflect what's actually in the data in the current version of the database.
That's what I was going to say. Like
objects.
To me, this file lets the tool know what's changed in the database, right? So those are still in the database. So having them there still there makes sense to me. And then next time you run,
so if you drop a table from the database, it will no longer appear in this list.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really a separate thing. This isn't a list of what should show up in my model. This is a list of what objects are there in the database, and then potentially how I should deal with them, for example, include them or not include them.
It's like the first screen you get when you run Power Tools on Windows. It lists all the objects, and then you can pick some and not pick others. And picking some and picking others is what you do with the wildcards and the exclude and include flags.
Yeah.
And you can imagine
there's also I also have support. I'm not going to demo this because I want somebody else play with it. But I also have support for starts with, ends with, and contains.
Okay, cool.
For the exclusion wildcard. So if you don't have a like this or star exclusion wildcard, you can have a number of starts with, ends with, and contains wildcards. So if you want to exclude all the tables in a particular schema, it's very easy to do that with
That's
starts
very
with.
cool. So stepping back slightly here, we had a question at the beginning, just so people are aware, what we're doing here. So we're using Erik's tool to reverse engineer a database into entity types and a DB context. So yes, there is a DB context there. You want to show the DB context that got generated, Erik?
Yes. So this is the DB context that is generated,
right?
And it's generated every time the tool runs.
And it corresponds. It has DB set types for each of the entity types that are generated, and it can have configuration for configuration in there. And that's essentially what EF reverse engineering does, and the Power Tool does, but with more bells and whistles.
Yes, I see another bug here. I usually mark the files with a like generated header, but it's it's gone under the radar.
We have a lot of we often get questions about the automatically generated comment
Mhm.
because we don't do it in places
For
where
migrations.
the idea is that you've scaffolded the code
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you should then feel free to
Yeah.
edit it. So migrations is the real canonical example of that. The
Yeah.
idea of a
Yeah.
migration is not for it always to be this is the final point. In fact, you're supposed to go look at the file and make sure it's doing the right thing and change it in there. And so we don't put this is scaffolded code on that because it or this is generated code because it isn't. Once it's been scaffolded, it's your code to format, do whatever else you like.
Yeah, and this gets
But
back to
when you come back to this code, it's a little bit more. It depends how you think of it as to whether it should be generated code, right? Because if you're doing I'm just going to overwrite it every time, then yes, it's generated code. But if you're doing I'm actually using it as a starting point, and then I'm going to go ahead and edit the mappings as I move forward, which is also a very valid, powerful way of working, then
Absolutely.
it isn't. But again, with the T4 templates, you can choose to put on that or not on that as it as it works for you. So it's another good example of how
But
using the T4
in
templates
Windows-based
do it.
versions of Power Tools, I've always had this, but for a long time I had this generated header, and it should have been here as well. It will come in a future release candidate version, I guess. Cool. So that's basically what the tool does. It generates code for you that gets you. So I'm not going to show this, but you can just with very small amount of effort, looking at the README file, follow the instructions there, then you can start using your DB context in your controllers or from your app, wherever you want to use it. Simply by adding this a little bit registration or just newing up the DB context. So yes, with that, if there's any more questions, I'm just going to switch gears a bit and show a little bit about how do we get this nice, in my opinion, okay experience with the nice coloring and highlight of things and so on.
So everybody should feel free to ask your questions. We'll come back to a few more at the end, but let's go and look at this first.
Let's do that. Yes. So I'm just going to open the source code for this, and I'm going to start with how do we create a .NET tool. So I created this as a console app, which is an executable. Just did the new console app template, and basically all you need to do in order to make it maybe a few more bits and pieces, but these 3 ones I have highlighted here, is it visible to everyone? Are the kind of main ones: pack as tool, and then the tool command name. You can see here's where the magic happens, Arthur.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the ID of the package on NuGet, and the rest of it is just like a little bit of sprinkled metadata. Not so important, but that's basically, so you basically, Microsoft Build can do it for you. You just need to say this is as a not just a command line tool, it's actually something I want to pack as a tool, and then when you build, you will actually get a NuGet package given with this version.
I'm going to further try and educate myself here. So is it the case then that you can, is this like the .NET-EF thing, Brice?
I think so. Yes, I think it must be corresponding to .NET-EF.
So Erik, you could for yours write .NET space EFCPT, and that would work.
Correct.
And Brice, you told me the difference between .NET space EFCPT and just running EFCPT at one point. So remind me what it is.
So this is actually a pretty common toolchain thing. So even Git, if you name a command Git hyphen something, an exe, and it's on your command path, like it can find that, you can type Git space that thing, and Git exe will find that exe and call it. And But
Really?
and you can also call it directly, right? You can do git hyphen something. .NET hyphen EF calls our console app directly. .NET space EF calls .NET. .NET finds it and chains onto it.
So is there but there used to be at least some functional difference in terms of directories or like working directories or something, I think. Maybe that was a long time ago.
No, I think that was with the weird .NET CLI tools that we had, or like in
Yeah.
one of the days. There
Oh,
were
so
a
that's
lot of
what-
rules around
The
.NET
original
CLI.
like K tools. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
the
so
K
Project
tools.
K stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
So
they're
basically,
largely
I've been going around in my head thinking I have to do .NET space EF all the time.
Yeah.
But it's probably like old dinosaur knowledge that I don't need anymore.
Very useful. Very useful. So I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. Of course, I'm not trying
We
to
all are.
avoid reinventing the wheel here. So I'm taking advantage of a number of useful community packages.
That's so funny. When
The
you
first
first showed it, I was very interested in this.
I'm going to show is command line parser. I know that .NET team also has a system.command line, but I've been having issues with it, so I have good experience with command line parser. So yeah, let's leave it at that.
Yep.
So this command line parser, basically you just need to pass the command line with this little piece of code here, and then you get a result. Either it was passable and then you can do something with it, or it was not passable and then you could, for example, show the help screen.
Right.
And you just need to specify a class that's decorated with some attributes here. Nice. And that basically generates the help text and the explanation of the options and specifies whether things are required or not, and so on.
Good stuff.
It's really nice, and it's relatively minimal amount of effort to author this class here for the options, at least with the amount of options I support.
Do we know the author of that so we can give credit?
Good question. So we can give them credit. Yes. I don't know
we can always,
the author of it. I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No problem.
Then for the nice output we saw here, like the what do you call it, ASCII art, I suppose, or ASCII something anyway, and the nice coloring and so on. That is thanks to a library called spectre.console. And it's also like...
So the command line parser one is by Erik Newton 76.
Yes.
So thanks to Erik.
Yes. Spectre.console is some Swedish guy. No, I can't remember his name.
Okay, let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, you can probably find it on NuGet as well. Yes.
If I can spell it, apparently I can't spell it. What's the spelling of it?
I will go back. SPECTR. Console.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So it has like, instead of just console, it has like anti-console commands that can do things like markup with like its own markup. I think it's actually an existing syntax, but with its own markup syntax. And yeah.
Cool.
And it can format links as well.
It's
and
by
it can choose errors.
A company called, or an organization called Spectre Console. So thank you, Spectre Console.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who you are, but
yeah.
but
we appreciate your effort. Yeah.
Yes, but we appreciate your effort.
Exactly. And then also for let's just try to see if we can get some exception here.
I was going to add command line, coloring, console coloring to the simple logging I spent a day looking at it, all of the things you had to do to try and get console, coloring to work in all the different places, and I just gave up. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So it's great to have packages that can do some of that stuff. You
Otherwise I
think it
couldn't
should
have
be
done it.
easy, but it isn't.
No, but there's so many shells and so many ways of displaying
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, and this package takes care of all that plumbing for you.
Exactly.
It's not just saying it works on any DOS and PowerShell window. It has to work in all the shells.
Yeah, and that's
so,
the trick.
So now
isn't
we
it?
got a nice. Ooh, look at the beautiful exception we got here.
Keyword highlighting and everything.
It has highlighting, and it has like the actual important part of the exception is called out in red here. Isn't that a thing of beauty?
Very
and
nice.
You can see it's all kind of okay. Maybe it was actually like kind of asynchronous code, but all that's asynchronous. I don't know if any of the viewers have seen a call stack from something that was asynchronous, but trust me, it's not pretty to look at. It's like several stacks of stack traces in each other because of just how this asynchronous state machine works. It's like looking inside it, and it's not pretty. This has all been kind of, could we say, demystified? I think that's a good word, because the package I'm using is actually called ben.demystifier. And that package demystifies exceptions.
That's very cool.
It's very cool. So it's like, where do I do it? It's probably in the service. Maybe. Let's see. No. Scaffold hosted service. No. But it's just exception x.demystify, and then you have your beautiful exception. I'm surprised it's not here somewhere, but maybe I just can't find it. No, it's created by somebody called Ben.
I think we guessed that.
Trust me, and I don't know what his last name is. He works for a gaming company, and at one point he contributed some really good performance pull requests
Adams,
to
is
.NET.
it?
Ben Adams, yes.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Friend of the show, well, not our show.
Yes.
We're not good enough for that, but friend of .NET.
Yes. And the last thing I want to show was the fact that I have an update check, but it's a little bit complex to do that. Let's see. Like this. Now I'm installing an older version of the tool.
Right.
And we know that RC2 is out there somewhere on NuGet. And eventually it will be installed.
Power of the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. It's obviously doing a lot of useless stuff, and it's a semi-big package. No. Let's just dive into the code while it's running. So I actually have a package service, and here I take advantage of a package called NuGet.protocol.
I see.
Which is authored by the NuGet team. Surprisingly.
It's a fun package to play with.
Still installing. Wow. Okay, it's for managing. It's like I'll show you what it can do, but it can basically it has a special NuGet version class that can sort NuGet versions, which I'm also taking advantage of. Because NuGet versions is not just the numbering; it's also this miserable RC.1 and preview 10, which doesn't work for you, and so on. Things we have, and now I actually have two versions of the tool. I have two version series of the tool. I have version 6, the 6 series, and the 7 series. So, okay, finally. And the result of that is I can, for each individual version, I can check what is the latest version by asking up on NuGet about the latest version, and then propose that the user run an update. Because
That's
if they
cool.
call me for support, I will ask them, "Are you running the latest version?"
Yes,
No, I'm not.
of course.
You should be, because otherwise I won't support you. So,
Yep.
And in order to do that, you just need this small piece of code here to connect to NuGet, and then find your package, and then you can get all the versions where the major is, like in this case, 7 or 6. Get the latest version 7 version. If you get my drift.
But you're always using the main NuGet package feed for this, right? So it wouldn't work.
Yes, I'm always using the main NuGet package feed for this. I don't have like I could set up on my build server. I could set up like a private NuGet feed, but I haven't found the need for doing that yet. Yeah. So yeah.
Good stuff.
So let's just look at one other little tidbit here before we go. Are we running out of time? No, not yet.
Wow, I mean,
almost.
We're an hour and 6 minutes, but the hour time is only nominally. Like, we've never done one that's actually been less than an hour. I mean, the query one ended up being an hour and 45.
Yeah,
I think that's
so what I'm doing here is I'm in my actually reverse engineering code. I have all the ADO.NET providers installed because it comes with the EF Core providers comes with the ADO.NET provider. So I'm trying to build a connection string with a connection string that the user types, and if the result of that is just a single
nice,
then we're good to go, and I can assume that it's like a SQL Server connection. So that's how you can avoid typing
pretty
this
clever
abbreviation.
Yeah. Nice.
It works in some. I don't really have a lot of ground experience with this, but it works in some cases.
Good stuff.
So, yes, the last quick thing I'm just going to show quickly is this samples. Open the code. So is this schema thing I was talking about earlier? It's just a JSON file, and there's tools where you can upload a config, a JSON file, and then it will generate the schema file for you. Maybe you need to tweak it a little bit, but it's basically just a JSON file that you publish somewhere on the internet, and then it will be referred to from your data file, so to speak.
Right there.
In this case,
it's like an XML schema.
Yeah. It is just like an XML schema. Don't tell anyone. Yeah. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, only 8 minutes passed.
Yeah. So let's. There hasn't been that many more questions.
Okay.
There's somebody asking an unrelated thing here about order. You can't stop presenting. Yeah. Order by name description. No, we're not planning on adding anything explicitly to that. For that, but there's third-party stuff out there, which one of the points of us showing Erik, and we've got some other community people coming up, is use the full power of the .NET community. Don't just only use it if it comes from Microsoft, or you'll be missing out. And along those lines is, why use .NET EF DB context scaffold now? It's a good question. Why use it?
Good question. Yeah. I can't see any reason why, but
no. I mean, unfortunately, we have those people still who won't use it if it isn't from Microsoft, which is frustrating, but we try and change it one step at a time.
Yeah, to answer it seriously, I think kind of seeing some of the code there, there's a hard-coded list of providers that the Power Tools work with. And so if you're using another provider, that's one reason you can't use the Power Tools. The other thing is kind of what I was
still haven't heard from anyone saying we're using another provider and we want to use Power Tools on Windows.
Yeah,
But this
I mean, I
could
think
happen
you got the big
one
ones
day,
there.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's probably a small number of people, but and then the other one is kind of what I was saying at the beginning. Like we look in your project and we load it, and that gives you a hook to override some of our services. So if you really want to start customizing the reverse engineer process, like writing your own code to do it, not like how Erik wrote code to do it and put checkboxes for you. So if those work for you, great. But if you want like even beyond that,
That's
sort
a
of
good
power,
point. Yeah.
Correct.
And then before we go, I did ask if anyone's using T4. I should have expected, yes, use them, hate them, debugging is awful. But hopefully that's getting better. We always say that with T4. No, we didn't say that with T4 for a while, but T4 now has got a little bit more improved visibility. Now, that's not what I wanted to say. Like a little bit more attention than it used to have for a while. So hopefully that will get better.
That will improve the situation, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Erik, for being here. It's always great to see this stuff. Really excited by some of those features. And so, yeah, thank you. And then thanks, Brice, for joining us. I'm not going to say what I think we have in 2 weeks, because if I do that, it'll be wrong. But I know we've got another thing lined up in a couple of weeks and quite a few more kind of in the backlog. So we'll be going for a while now. So hopefully Shai will be back then. And thanks, everybody, for watching. Bye.